Welcome into a bonus episode of the Colts Perspective. Today is Sunday. It's Sunday morning. We're halfway through Divisional Round weekend, and we have quite a bit to talk about from yesterday. Most primarily, the fact that the Houston Texans are now finally out of the playoffs. Now, I am a Colts fan, so of course there's a little bit of animosity towards the Texans, but I will say, CJ Stroud, DeMeco Ryans, rookie quarterback, first-time head coach, it was a great story, and the Texans had been very fun to watch all year long. Unfortunately, at some points, that was because they were beating the Colts in Week 18 or something like that. But nonetheless, the Texans were a fun story. They were very fun to watch. I did thoroughly enjoy watching them destroy the Cleveland Browns the other week. But at the end of the day, they come down to Baltimore and lose in the divisional rounds. I don't really think you can be mad about this if you're a Texans fan. The Baltimore Ravens just are incredible. They're incredible. They're the favorites to win the Super Bowl. They're probably going to do it for the first time since 2012, 2013, way back in the Harbaugh Bowl. But the Baltimore Ravens starters had not played in 3 weeks when this game kicked off, and you sort of started to see a little bit of that rust early on. The game started out 3-3. It was 10-10 at halftime. You didn't really see a lot of offensive firepower from the Baltimore Ravens, but eventually it started to kick in. And once we got into that second half, once Lamar Jackson settled in, once those receivers got a little bit more loose, this Ravens offense was just completely unstoppable. Lamar Jackson was shredding the Texans secondary that we know to be very weak and probably their biggest liability. Lamar Jackson entered the game 16 for 22 for 152 yards and 2 touchdowns. He threw to, almost 10 different receivers. Zay Flowers had 4 receptions for 41 yards. Rashad Bateman had 3 catches. Isaiah Likely had 2. Nelson Aguilar had 2. OBJ had 1 huge first down in the second half. Justice Hill had 2. Charlie Kolar, Gus Edwards each had 1. That's the amount of different people that were catching balls for the Baltimore Ravens, and it really showed. This high-flying offense just had absolutely nothing in its way. And on top of that, Lamar Jackson rushed for 100 yards on 11 carries, 2 touchdowns there as well. Justice Hill had 13 carries for 66 yards. Gus Edwards and Dalvin Cook pitched in, did their part as well too. The Ravens offense was just absolutely undeniably the best in the league at this point. At least with the teams that are left in the playoffs. We can talk about the Dolphins, but the Ravens look like the best offense in the entire league. They looked like that yesterday. I expect them to look like that again next week. It almost seems like a foregone conclusion. It almost seems inevitable that the Baltimore Ravens are going to be playing in Vegas in February and potentially winning in Vegas in February, which seeing the Ravens win a Super Bowl would be really cool to me. I mean, I love their colors. I love their stadium. I love their brand. And my favorite Super Bowl of all time, besides the Colts Super Bowls, is Ravens 49ers. I was in first grade, something like that. Just having the time of my life. It's the first Super Bowl I remember, and it's my favorite. The Harbaugh Bowl, the Beyonce blackout game, etc. The defense for the Ravens also was incredible. They really took away, that secondary really took away CJ Stroud's deep ball. That's his secret weapon, is that post to Nico Collins that he hit on that very first play for a 75-yard touchdown against the Colts in Week 18. That was taken away. I think he had maybe one deep pass of 20-plus yards to Nico Collins the entire game. He had one to Dalton Schultz on the sideline as well, but for the most part, the Ravens really took away the deep ball for CJ Stroud, took away his best quality, his secret weapon, and really just limited him in every other way. He seems very flustered in a road environment. We know that the Texans on the road is a very different team than the Texans at home, and we really saw that here, especially against the best in the league, the Baltimore Ravens. They're the best based on their record. They aesthetically look the best. Lamar Jackson has been awesome. They don't have Mark Andrews, by the way, and they've still been awesome without him. They're supposed to be getting Mark Andrews back next week, if not, maybe in the Super Bowl. What is this offense going to be? It's going to be incredibly fun to watch no matter what happens. Now, on the Texans side of things, you can't really be mad about this one. It wasn't their time to win a Super Bowl, right? Not yet. Same with the Colts, not yet. You need to give it time. I'm very excited to see CJ Stroud versus Anthony Richardson in the future. I mean, you got Josh Downs, you got Nico Collins, you got Tank Dell, you got, Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman Jr., if we can re-sign him. it's going to be an amazing AFC South battle for years to come, and I'm very excited to see that play out. You can't be mad about this for the Texans. It was a great season. They massively overachieved. Keep in mind, they had we were laughing at them because they beat us in week 18 and lost the number 1 pick. They had, what was it, the number 2 and number 3 pick? Is that what happened? They picked because they traded up and picked back to back. So they had 2 top 5 picks last year, and now they have won a playoff game. They're in the divisional round, and people weren't counting them out, right? It was in the conversation that maybe the Texans could have won this game. That wouldn't have been a crazy idea if you had said that, and they didn't end up doing it. But a great season for the Texans. You cannot be mad about this loss. C.J. Stroud is young and awesome. They got young receivers. They got this young team. Will Anderson Jr. in his rookie year looked awesome. The Texans have a lot to be excited about. So do the Colts, but the Texans have a lot to be excited about. I think that one of the Texans or Colts are going to win a Super Bowl sometime in the next 5 to 10 years. Hopefully both, or hopefully the Colts, right? But I would take both even to get a Colts Super Bowl there. But the Ravens look like they can win it today. They can win it tomorrow. They can win it this year in just a couple of weeks. We'll see if that ends up playing out. All I have to say at the end of this video is the fact that the Indianapolis Colts in Week 3 beat the Ravens. The Colts are 1-0 against this Ravens team. The Texans are 0-2. They had 2 chances. Couldn't even pull out a win. They actually lost big both times. I believe the first game in Week 1 was like 30-6. Granted, it's a different Texans team. Week 1 Texans and January Texans are very different. And same with Week 3 Ravens and January Ravens. But nonetheless, that's one of the wins I'm going to carry into the offseason for the Colts, is the fact that we beat the Ravens and the Texans got obliterated both times. That's all I have to say. If you're watching, thank you. I really appreciate it. The Colts perspective is going to have one main, very well thought out and edited and very much more sophisticated, I suppose you could say, video every Saturday at noon is when you can expect that to come out. It's going to be obviously about the Colts. We just had the one over the offensive line before we had the video revisiting every Colts game in 2023. We're going to have more of those every single week at the very least. You could also hope for these bonus episodes where in the morning on a weekday, or today is Sunday, for example, you can expect videos on, whatever. The rest of the league, maybe it's some offhand comment I have on the Colts, some news that isn't worth doing a whole fully thought out video about on Saturday that, maybe we should mention sometime else. For example, the Colts released Tony Brown a couple weeks ago. That's interesting to me. That's important to note to me. And we may have to do a video about that in the future. It would be very late, but you get the point. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of the divisional rounds. Today is Sunday. We got Lions, Buccaneers. We've got Chiefs, Bills is going to be an awesome game. Enjoy it from the Colts perspective.